as you know, I'm Katie, and I'm Eric's sister. To begin, there are a multitude of people who deserve credit and appreciation. Law enforcement agencies across the state of Utah, the Summit County Prosecutor's Office, the Medical Examiner's Office, expert witnesses who worked hand in hand with law enforcement, Eric's friends, Eric's co-workers, my friends and my family, our entire team of lawyers and experts in the civil lawsuit. There are far too many people to mention by name, and I suspect if I try to, I will inadvertently leave someone out. But to all of you, please know that this would not be possible without your efforts, your support, and the strength of the community that has stood beside us. Both my family and I are forever grateful to each of you. I am also very grateful to you, Your Honor, to this court for the dignified manner in which it presided over the trial, and to the members of the jury for faithfully performing their civic duties. Today is Eric's birthday. I stand before you because he can't. He was taken away from my dad, my sister, his nieces, his friends, our community, and worst of all, from his 3 amazing sons. Sorry. He was taken away from us by a person he should have been able to trust, the person he should have trusted most in the world, his wife. It's impossible to fully describe how devastating Eric's death and Kouri's crimes have been to our family. Nearly every aspect of our lives has been permanently changed, and we have no choice but to live with those changes and with Eric's loss forever. Eric was a phenomenal brother, father, son, nephew, grandson, cousin, friend, and businessman. Eric and I were extremely close. We went through school together and navigated life side by side. Wherever Eric went, I was usually tagged along right behind. In school, Eric's nickname was Richie, and mine was Little Richie, a reflection on how inseparable we were. He wasn't just my brother. He was my constant, my protector, and one of my closest friends. Eric was the kind of father who anticipated his children's needs before they ever had to ask. He made sure they were always having fun, taught them how to be respectful and kind, and was constantly planning for their future. His mind and heart was always on his boys, always. Everything he did was for them. Eric was the very best uncle. He made his nieces, my daughters, feel truly special. He always found ways to have fun with them. He doted on them with love and attention. Eric was an incredible son, always there for my parents, stepping in without hesitation and helping in every way he could, without being asked. The bond he shared with my mom was truly special. We would often joke that the umbilical cord had never really been cut, but in truth, it spoke to the deep, unbreakable love they had for each other. This is who Eric truly was, a man defined by love, integrity, and unwavering devotion to his family. He is none of the things that Kouri tried to portray him as. Those mischaracterizations were nothing more than a vile effort to deflect blame. And those mischaracterizations stand in stark contrast to the reality of the man we all knew and loved. Eric's life and his actions and the profound impact he had on those around him speak for themselves, and they tell a story of goodness, strength, and character that cannot be rewritten or diminished. The saddest part for me in all of this is that I got something with Eric that his sons never did: time. I feel cheated that I only got to spend a few decades with my brother, but I should feel lucky in comparison. As Eric's eldest son told me shortly after his dad's death, he and his brothers did not even get 10 years with their dad. It is devastating that Eric is not here to coach them, to work the family ranch with them, to teach them how to drive, to attend their high school graduation, to send them off to college, to see them get married, or to celebrate the birth of his future grandchildren. His 3 sons are going to grow up and live nearly their entire lives without their dad. They're going to get to know their dad more from the stories we tell about them than their actual experiences. In all likelihood, by the time they are age 44 years old, which is how old Eric would be today, they will have little to no actual memories of Eric. And they have to go through life without their dad because their mother planned and carried out his murder. She could not have done anything more selfish or more cruel to those boys. In the place of a stable, secure, and loving home, Kouri gave the boys permanent trauma. They were in the house the night she killed their father. They were awake. They knew that something terrible had happened to their dad. As we heard on the 911 call during trial, one of them even walked into Eric's bedroom, where Eric's body lay dead, poisoned by someone who his son should have been able to unconditionally trust, love, and depend on. No child should have to bear that trauma. But Eric's 3 innocent sons will bear that burden, and they will bear it for the rest of their lives. Kouri's selfishness and cruelty did not end with Eric's murder. In the time after Eric's death, Kouri has done nothing but isolate, manipulate, deceive, and do harm to those boys. Almost immediately after Eric died, she cut them off completely from our family, from Eric's family. The isolation was calculated and strategic. Kouri used the boys as bargaining chips with my dad. She repeatedly threatened not to let him see his grandsons unless he could convince me, as Eric's trustee of his trust, to capitulate to her legal demands and give her all the trust assets. While isolating the boys, Kouri provided them with false and harmful information about me and my family. When DCFS took custody of the boys following Kouri's arrest and asked where they would like to go, they expressed fear of my family. The fear was not based on reality, but on what they had been told. For over a year, Kouri led them to believe that I hated them, that I was attempting to take Eric's money for myself, and that I intended for them to be left without support, that they would be homeless and starving. These statements were entirely false and had no basis in reality. Had they not been subjected to that influence, they would have known the truth. Prior to Eric's death, our families were very close. My daughters and his sons had strong friendships, and I had a meaningful individual relationship with each of my nephews. I spent time riding horses with one, helping another identify summer coding programs, and the youngest participated in ice skating lessons with my daughters. Our families shared holidays, worked together on our family ranch, took trips together, and I was present the day each of the boys were born in the hospital. The boys have expressed their confusion about these circumstances. They have stated that prior to their father's passing, both Eric and Kouri frequently told them if anything were to happen, they should go with me, that I would care for them and support them. Following Eric's death, however, those messages changed. After Eric passed away, Kouri prevented all contact between our family and the boys. She prohibited communication and continued to provide them of false information about us. When we were finally able to see the boys again, approximately 15 months after Eric's death, the boys hardly recognized the relationship we had. Instead, they viewed my family and me with fear and hesitation, as though we were strangers. Kouri also went to great lengths to jeopardize the boys' financial futures. I know you are very aware of this. Among other things, she drained the personal bank accounts that Eric had set up for his boys as college funds. She allowed the boys' Social Security survivor benefits to be funneled to individuals who were not taking care of the boys. And she sued me in my role as Eric's trustee and personal representative, not once, not twice, but 3 separate times. The goal of her lawsuits is singular. She wants all of Eric's assets for herself. Despite her lies and fanciful public portrayal, she knows that none of Eric's assets are going to me, my dad, or my sister. In fact, she knows exactly where Eric wanted everything to go, and that is to his boys. And yet for 4 years, she has aggressively tried to take their inheritance from them. Even now, despite erroneous debt, a murder conviction, and a string of pending felony financial charges, Kouri's civil lawsuits live on. Those lawsuits have been emotionally grueling, all-consuming, and unimaginably expensive. And tragically, every dollar on those suits is a dollar that Eric's boys will not get. Of course, Kouri can't have other people or the public thinking that she's trying to take away her children's inheritance. So for the past 4 years, both in court and in the media, she has demonized and vilified me. She has hurled wild accusations in my direction, including that I hacked her bank accounts, forged her bank statements, paid off witnesses, unduly pressured law enforcement into investigating her, and quietly pulled the Summit County prosecutor's strings. It is despicable that for doing nothing more than trying to honor Eric's wishes, Kouri has cast me as the evildoer here. Just as bad, honoring Eric's wishes has landed my sister and myself, and unbelievably, my 2 daughters in Kouri's crosshairs. One of Eric's sons recently told me that Kouri used to say, "I will get them one day." Apparently, she was talking about me, my sister, and my daughters. Her infamous walk the dog letter, the part the jury did not hear, confirms her desire to harm me. In it, she talks at length about her plans to get at Amy and me, including by targeting my daughters, both of whom are under the age of 10. It takes a sick mind to target children. The mere thought that someone who has so little regard for human life or decency might one day walk free is horrifying. I worry about the safety of Eric's boys, my daughters, my sister, and myself. There is nothing Kouri will not do, and no one she will not hurt, to achieve her own selfish ends. I am not the only one that is afraid. There are 3 little boys who, instead of fearing those who love and adore them, as Kouri would prefer, worry constantly that Kouri might show up one day and take them away. Eric's sons deserve so much better. They are not bargaining chips. They are not cash cows. They are not props for some twisted children's book about grief and loss. And yet that is what they've been reduced to by Kouri. To my unending sadness and horror, Eric himself understood all too well the danger she posed to his children and to his family. When Eric told me he had changed his estate planning and appointed me as his trustee and personal representative, I begged him to end the marriage and go his separate way. By that point, he had already consulted with a divorce attorney and was deeply afraid that he might not be awarded sole custody of his children. He made the heartbreaking decision to stay because he could not accept the risk of what might happen to his sons if Kouri had equal custody. He told me he would live his life through hell every single day of his life until his youngest was 18, because he believed Kouri was the most evil person he had ever met. He knew that his sons did not like her. He told me as much many times. He knew that they would prefer to be far away from her, but he also knew that divorce carried significant risks. And he said he could never allow his children to spend half of their time alone with her, because he was certain they would be exposed to harm and things no child should ever experience. He made it clear that in his mind, if Kouri were given equal custody, his children would be in the care of someone he believed to be deeply dangerous. He feared the people they could be exposed to and the damage that could be done. At the same time, he spoke with deep love and admiration for his boys. He told me that they were the most amazing boys in the world, and that none of this was their choice and none of it was their fault, and that he would do everything in his power to protect them for as long as he possibly could. Kouri loves to go on and on about how this case is a media sensation. She's right. News outlets from here to Europe have covered it. There have been countless newspaper articles, podcasts, and TV specials about it. Every hearing is live streamed on numerous YouTube channels. Every filing is scrutinized by internet lawyers and true crime junkies. There is no question that this case is famous and that Kouri is now famous. But what Kouri never mentions in talking about her fame and notoriety are the reasons why this case is now famous. It is famous for how appalling and sickening it is. It is famous because a mother meticulously planned to kill her husband, killed him while their children were sleeping in the next room, and then had the audacity to hold herself out as the author of a children's book about grief and loss. It is famous because she spent time Googling luxury prisons for the rich in America. It is famous because from her jail cell, she scripted a bunch of phony testimony so that her brother could perpetrate a fraud on the court. It is famous because she victimized her own children and threatened to victimize Eric's nieces. The fame and attention are directly proportional to the evil that has gone on here. This is not a situation where the idea of rehabilitation should be entertained. In taking Eric's life for her own selfish gain, Kouri did not only harm Eric, she permanently harmed 3 kids who were under the age of 10. She took away a dad, a son, a brother, an uncle, a grandson, a nephew, a cousin, and a friend. Eric's death has caused immeasurable pain to so many. Obviously, there's nothing the court can do about that. And you cannot bring him back. But what you can do is give Kouri's victims at least some measure of closure. To that end, I ask that the court impose a sentence that ensures Kouri never has the opportunity to harm Eric's children or our family again. Please do not let my brother's life be worth nothing more than a 25-year punishment. Please do not leave those boys to wonder whether Kouri might track them or their children down in the future. Please do not create a possibility for Kouri to endanger Eric's boys, my daughters, my family, or anyone else ever again. Please sentence Kouri to a life in prison without the possibility of parole. Thank you.
Thank you, Kate. Morning, Clint.
Hello, Your Honor. My name is Clint Benson. I am Katie's husband and Eric's brother-in-law. Eric was an innocent man, a devoted father, and someone whose life revolved around his children and his family. Because of Kouri's choices, he never had the opportunity to say goodbye to his children, to reassure them, to share the final moments every family deserves. That loss cannot be measured. His children will spend the rest of their lives carrying the pain of a father taken from them far too soon. What makes this tragedy even more painful is the calculated nature of the crime. This was not a momentary mistake, a lapse in judgment, or a crime of passion. It involved planning, preparation, testing, and deliberate action. Eric's death was carried out in a way that caused fear, suffering, and helplessness. Kouri either watched or sat by as Eric succumbed to fentanyl poisoning instead of providing any kind of aid to him. She was fantasizing about a dream life funded by Eric's death. Eric was killed in his home by a traitor sleeping next to him in one of the most cowardly acts imaginable. We are profoundly grateful to every investigator, prosecutor, detective, law enforcement officer, juror, judge, forensic expert, and public servant who worked tirelessly and honestly to uncover the truth. Their dedication ensured that Eric's voice was not lost and that justice could still prevail. We are equally grateful for the incredible community surrounding us. This community has shown unwavering support and has been there for Eric's boys without judgment and through some of the most difficult times imaginable. The boys are succeeding and thriving because of the people around them who continue to provide support and look out for their safety. Going through every aspect of this murder easily led to a dark place while fighting against an individual focused on only chaos and vengeance. However, the people surrounding us, including the sheriff's officers, principals, teachers, school staff, coaches, counselors, neighbors, and church members, created an unbreakable force for what is good, just, and right. No sentence can bring Eric back. No outcome will erase the suffering caused by these actions. But accountability matters, truth matters, and justice matters. Kouri continues to shirk responsibility for her actions, for the pain she has caused, and for the resources she has squandered, both Eric's and the state's. Even after everything that has been revealed, Kouri has demonstrated zero genuine accountability or remorse for the devastation she has left behind. Instead, she has repeatedly attempted to distort the truth, create false narratives, and portray herself as the victim. She has used the legal system as part of her schemes. There has been lawsuit after lawsuit, motion after motion, delay after delay, all in an effort to shift blame away from the person responsible. The evidence, the truth, and the outcome of this case all tell a very different story. What is especially concerning is the continued hostility from Kouri and her family, as well as their desire for vengeance directed towards our family, a family already devastated by an unimaginable loss. Statements they have made about going to war and getting the Richins demonstrate an ongoing mindset rooted in blame, anger, and retaliation, rather than remorse or acceptance of responsibility. Kouri will continue to try to convince the public that she was a good mother through media outlets that choose not to research or report on the countless motions and facts presented in this case or other cases, but instead simply regurgitate the false narratives of a sick and evil person. Kouri and her family continue to plan media campaigns focused on lies, targeting anyone foolish enough to spend time listening to them. Kouri is not before this court because she was mistreated, because she is a victim, or because the Richins family manufactured a false narrative as she and the Darden family would like to portray. She is before this court because of the choices she has made, choices that resulted in Eric's death and permanent trauma to anyone who has loved him. Kouri chose pride, seeking to project an image of success. Kouri chose adultery and lust, prioritizing her secret lover over her husband and her children. Kouri chose fraud and greed, hoping to profit from Eric's death. Kouri chose murder, and she continues to choose vengeance against the victims of her actions. The time for Kouri to make choices is at an end. Now it is time for her victims to choose. Please let Eric's children have a chance to choose lifelong peace, comfort, security, success, and happiness. I ask this court to impose a sentence of life without parole, a sentence that truly reflects the gravity of this crime, the irreversible harm caused to our family, and the calculated choices that led to Eric's death. Thank you, sir.
My name's Jean Richens. I'm Eric Richins' sister. Today, I'm here to speak as a victim and to speak for Eric because he no longer has a voice. I addressed this court in 2023 when we were living in a state of visceral shock. Now, 3 years later, we are here at sentencing on a date that carries a weight I can barely describe. Today's Eric's 44th birthday. Birthdays are supposed to be proof of life, a day to celebrate another year of growth. Instead, today is a cruel reminder of another year Eric will never see, and a reminder of the fatherhood that was stolen from his 3 sons. Before I talk about what this crime has done, I need you to know who Eric was, not as a headline, but as a person. Over the course of this trial, so many people described Eric in strikingly similar ways. They called him outgoing, confident, funny, competitive, dependable, driven, and fiercely loyal. He was a leader, a hard worker, a rancher, a businessman, a coach, a best friend, a brother, a son. But more than anything, people described him as a phenomenal father. Eric had 3 sons and he coached many of their sports teams. He was the kind of dad who showed up not just for his own children, but for everyone around them. Sometimes I think about all the children who lost him too, the kids he coached, mentored, and believed in. I cannot imagine the confusion and heartbreak they felt when someone who had become such a steady and trusted part of their lives was suddenly gone. Eric was a real person, a deeply loved person, and the loss of him echoes through every life he touched. On my 16th birthday, I was sitting in my 10th grade English class when I got a text from Eric that said, "Come outside." I walked out and there was Eric, standing with flowers and that mischievous grin we all knew. I asked what he was doing there, and he just said, "Let's go. We've got to get a little mud on your tires." I had just bought my first truck, a used Ford F-150. Eric took me up into the mountains, and we took that truck off-roading for the first time. It was exhilarating and terrifying, but I felt safe because he was there. That was Eric. He made life bigger. He made people feel brave, and he protected the people he loved. That is the brother I lost, and that is the father his boys lost. In 2023, I told this court that I was tormented by the sequence of events of that night. Today, that torment has not faded. I still wonder when Eric realized he was in mortal danger. I wonder what Kouri said to him in his last moments. I'm still haunted by the question, did his boys hear their father's final struggle? If Eric had died of an illness, we would have cared for him. If it were an accident, there would have been kindness. But there is no comfort here. In his last moments, after being intentionally poisoned, my brother was faced with the ultimate betrayal. Eric's sons were 9, 7, and 5 when their world was shattered. They are now 13, 11, and 9. These are the years when a boy learns how to be a man by watching his father. What makes this crime uniquely heinous is that their grief will never pass. It will reinvent itself at every milestone. This crime didn't just happen once. It happens every single morning when those boys wake up and realize their father is still gone. They did not just lose their father, they lost the life they knew. Eric's death didn't end the harm. It began a grinding process of re-traumatization. Early in this process, I remember being told this case would be a marathon, not a sprint. We did not understand how every hearing, filing, delay, and public narrative would reopen wounds all over again. As if losing Eric was not painful enough, our family was then forced to grieve under public scrutiny. After the publication of the grief book, our family became the subject of public narratives, attacks, and speculation. At one point, I received a message sent from a burner phone that said, "You think you're funny? Kouri will get the last laugh. Your jealousy is as disgusting as your family." Law enforcement later confirmed, through warrants, that the message came from Kouri. That moment stayed with me because it captured what these years have felt like. Not just grief, but intimidation and distortion. Yes, our family hired a private investigator, but when someone you love dies suddenly and deep in your gut, you believe something is terribly wrong, you do not stop searching for answers. The real question is not why would you investigate? The real question is, what wouldn't you do? What wouldn't you do for your brother, for the truth? I also feel compelled to address the emotional toll of the trial itself. As the designated victim representative, and more importantly as Eric's sister, I have a right to be present in the courtroom. Yet during the proceedings, I was essentially kept in the dark. Due to the courtroom layout, I could not see the exhibits or the evidence. When we requested simple accommodation, we were told that the trial was being broadcast on court TV and I could excuse myself and watch from home with the rest of the world. Being told that my right to be here was interchangeable with a television broadcast was a profound violation. I did not want to watch Eric's life and death as content from my couch. I didn't want to go home after a grueling day and listen and watch it all over again. I had a right to be here, to face the evidence directly. Still, to this day, I have not been able to rewatch the trial because it's so time-consuming and painful to relive. I still have not seen all the evidence that was presented. Your Honor, I need to say this clearly. Someday, those boys will grow up and look back at the records of this trial. I need the truth to be the only thing they find. The claims made against Eric's character were not just legal defenses, they were acts of secondary violence. Eric was a protector, not a predator. These lies were a desperate attempt to justify the unjustifiable, and they have added a layer of cruelty to our grief that is nearly impossible to bear. I also need to correct the record on a few misrepresentations. First, the prenup. It was provided well before the wedding, not in a last-minute way. Second, the incident between Kouri and me. I never touched her. Kouri pled guilty to assaulting me. Yet she and her circle have continued to spread false narratives. This is a pattern of distortion that has kept our family trapped in conflict. There is something that has haunted me for years. And I found out Katie was the exact same today. I begged Eric to leave too. I begged him to divorce her, but Eric was trying to protect his boys. People often struggle to recognize intimate partner violence when the victim is a man. But Eric's actions spoke for themselves. He documented conversations. He tried to protect himself. He knew after Valentine's Day that she had tried to poison him, but he also believed that if he left, he could not fully protect his children. So he stayed because he was trying to keep them safe. This trauma has seeped into every corner of my life. And also, it has also deeply affected my own family and marriage. My husband, William, watched me be consumed by the pursuit of justice. For 4 years, we have lived in a constant state of stress, grief, and emotional exhaustion. I lost my job as a professor at Montana Tech University on the very day I was subpoenaed to appear in this court. Eric was so proud of me earning my PhD, and teaching students was something I loved and that made me proud. It now seems like another thing that Kouri's actions have taken away from me. But the most devastating loss is one that isn't in any police report. Because of the unrelenting stress of this investigation and the constant attacks on our family, I suffered a traumatic miscarriage of twins. We lost our children. We lost the future we were building. Kouri's actions didn't just end one life. They reached out and stifled the lives of my unborn children as well. That loss lives inside this tragedy too. Eric's murder did not just take someone from my life. It plunged me into a darkness. It stole the light I once carried. It erased the future I had planned. Every day, I wake up and step into this same crushing emptiness,
where time itself feels frozen and meaningless. The laughter of my future children, the warmth of my family, the simple joy of waking to a new morning, all of it has been devoured by this crime. This grief is limitless, resembling the ocean. Sometimes it softly touches the shore, other times it pounds against it with fierce force. Occasionally, it surges like a massive tsunami, overwhelming everything. These changes can occur suddenly, and like the ocean, it cannot be controlled. I didn't just lose my brother. I lost my sister-in-law. I lost someone I considered my friend. We'd had good times together. That loss is so complicated now, Your Honor, because it forces you to grieve someone who is still alive while facing the horror of what they have done. It is grief that doesn't resolve. It just sits there heavy every day. This crime has fractured our family in ways outsiders cannot understand. One of the most painful realities is that my husband and I do not get to see our nephews. This tragedy has created a wall of trauma between us, and that feels impossible to climb. Because of this crime, we are no longer present in those boys' lives the way Eric would have wanted. In 2023, I told this court I never knew evil like this existed. Everything I have witnessed since has confirmed that. Kouri did not just kill Eric, she attempted to kill the spirit of everyone who loved him. She lied to his children, she lied to the world, and has shown no remorse while dancing on his grave for profit. Your Honor, a parole-eligible sentence is not a conclusion. It is a reoccurring nightmare. It guarantees that every few years, Eric's sons will be notified that their father's murderer is seeking freedom. It forces them to relive the trauma repeatedly for decades. Eric died trying to be his children's shield. He can no longer protect them, so now the responsibility falls to this court. I ask you to provide these boys with the finality and safety they deserve. I ask you to ensure that the noise of Kouri Richins never enters their lives again. For the years of suffering we've endured, for the children who will grow up without their father, and for the life she stole from Eric and the peace she stole from us, I respectfully ask that you sentence Kouri Richins to life without the possibility of parole. Happy birthday, Rico. Thank you.
My name is Jessica Black. I'm a licensed clinical mental health therapist and a registered therapist. Myself and my colleagues are here today to read the victim impact statements for 3 children. We are here as advocates on their behalf. After a developmentally appropriate process, the boys were able to decide individually how they wanted to share their statements, and this is what they chose. Our roles are to read their words exactly as they wrote. The boys want the court and the world to hear their side. This is from WR. I woke up to sirens, and there were a lot of people at my house, and I was definitely scared. I felt confused. I was in a bedroom with my brothers, and I didn't know what was happening. At first, I was really scared because I didn't know what was happening, and I had no control, and I felt helpless. I felt really overwhelmed. After my dad died, Kouri would put us in the basement while she was with the neighbor. I felt scared because I thought something really bad was happening again. She would take me to places that smelled really bad. Everything she did made me feel uncomfortable. When someone talks about Kouri, it makes me feel hateful and ashamed. She took away my dad. It's made me have a hard time trusting people. I was scared that Kouri's family would come to my school and take me. I had to go to counseling with DCFS in Heber, and I did not like it. DCFS made me talk to Kouri, and I couldn't do things that I wanted to do. I felt not important to anyone. I feel a lot better about myself now than I did with Kouri. I can't ever see my dad again. I want her to go to prison forever. If she got out, I would be so scared. really mad, and I wouldn't want to go with her anywhere. I'm worried that she would take me away from Katie and Clint. Once she is gone, I will feel happy, and I will feel safer and relaxed, and trust people more.
Thank you. Christina.
Yes,
Good
Your
morning.
Honor. I am Christina Green. I'm a licensed clinical social worker, not registered plea therapist, and I will be reading for AR. You took away my dad for no reason other than greed, and you only cared about yourself and your stupid boyfriends. You were not caring and watching over me and my brothers. I had to be a parent to W. C and I would walk him to the bus stop, feed him, and watch him. You were not concerned about our health. When we got hurt, you didn't even care. When C got run over by a side-by-side, you still made him go to the soccer game that day without taking him to the doctors first. You would lock C in his room, and I would have to go to the kitchen and bring him food. You shamed us when we didn't want to eat uncooked lasagna you made. We threw it away because we couldn't eat it. Then you made us watch videos of children starving in war areas. You wanted to scare us into eating something that wasn't cooked. You wouldn't let our dog outside, and then the dog would pee inside. You created this problem, then you would smack my dog on the head as hard as you could. You wouldn't let me put my kitten in the garage for safety at night, and we found it eaten by raccoons the next day. You wouldn't let us turn on and use the heater lamp for the chickens and bunnies, and they froze to death. You would always argue with my dad and lock the door. You were not playing the role as a real mother does. You were doing the opposite. Now my dad can't be my coach anymore, can't be at any of my games. He won't be at my birthdays. He can't teach me how to drive. He won't be at my graduation, and he can't take me camping or fishing. You made me paranoid about sleeping on my dad's side of the bed by saying I might die or get harmed when I was just trying to be close to my dad after you killed him. You took away everything from me and my brothers. I don't want you out of jail because I will not feel safe if you are out. You have never said sorry for anything that you have done to me and my brothers. I don't want you to hurt anyone again. I know that you will need to stay in jail to fully take accountability for what you did to me, C, W, and my dad. With you in jail, I will be able to continue to feel safe and live a happy and successful life without fear of you hurting me or anyone I love. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you. Sarah.
Yes, my name is Sarah. I'm a licensed clinical social worker and registered plea therapist, and I'm going to read the victim impact statement for CR. My name and age now, my name and age I was at the time of the crime. CR, age 12, now 13. I was 9 when my dad was murdered. What I would like to see happen if the perpetrator is convicted of the crime, I would like to see Kouri get a life sentence. My thoughts regarding an appropriate sentence for the person who is accused of this crime and if they are found guilty. I think Kouri should get a life sentence because what she did is very sick, because it had no reason to happen and it impacted a bunch of people, including me. These are some reasons why I think she should have a life sentence. The information I feel is important for the judge to be aware of in sentencing. I think the judge should know that my dad was a good person and very thoughtful and kind and helped whoever needed help. He was always taking the extra mile to help people. My physical injuries as a result of this crime are as follows. I was sleeping and then I went to get a drink of water, then went back to bed. And when I woke up shaking and Bailey called the ambulance and they came and I couldn't talk for a while, I think Kouri had something to do with it because she didn't call the ambulance, she called Bailey and Bailey called the ambulance. At the ER, Kouri resisted to have my blood drawn, and kids who usually have this kind of seizure is when they are a few months old to a year old. I learned later that Kouri bought more fentanyl and had it in the house when this happened. I think this is what happened. She did what she did to my dad in the living room. My experienced emotional injury because of this crime is described as follows. Sad. I feel mad that I have to feel sad. I went from being scared for my life to feeling really good. I was scared for my life because I didn't eat that much. Kouri was always drunk or gone. I was always locked in my room. I can't remember, but I am pretty sure the lock was on the outside. Kouri threatened she would kill my lizard because we didn't want to watch some weird show with her. All of our chickens died because there was no food or water. My rabbit died because we didn't have food or water. The goats almost starved to death because she bought moldy hay and she didn't water them. Nothing ever got fed or watered. It didn't feel good to worry about my animals. I felt like I had to take care of my siblings. Ash mostly took care of me though because I was locked in my room. Ash would bring me food. Kouri would lock me up if I told her she was drunk. This happened pretty much daily. I feel angry that she locked me in my room. I am angry almost all my animals died. I am angry she threatened to kill them. I am angry she killed my dad. I started to feel really good when I moved into a safe place. It was safe because the people around me were safe, Katie and Clint. I felt safe at Jake and Shalina because I wasn't with Kouri anymore. Counseling. I feel annoyed that I have to go to counseling and tell the story about what happened 55 million times. I feel better now because I know it's to help me. I would like to not have to go to counseling. I would like to have to not worry about anything after this trial is over. I want the judge to know. I hope Kouri gets convicted to a life sentence. Kouri is always drunk. I want the judge to know my dad was a good person and I miss my dad. I miss my dad, but I do not miss how my life used to be. I don't miss Kouri, I will tell you that.
Thank you.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Please take your time.
Thank you. Thank you. Your Honor, my name is Jean Richens. I'm Eric's father. No parent should ever have to bury their child. It's a loss that changes you forever. Eric was taken from us way too soon. And his loss has left a permanent hole in our family that will never be filled, ever. Eric was first and foremost an incredible father. To his three boys, Carter, Ashton, and Wes, his sons were his world, and he was theirs also. They didn't just see him as a dad, they saw him as their best friend, their coach, their mentor, their protector. He was present in every part of their lives. Whether it was soccer, baseball, basketball, or any activity that they were involved in. Eric was there coaching, encouraging, and supporting not only his own boys, but every child on the team. Eric didn't just coach sports, he built confidence. He built character and friendships. He gave his time freely because he cared deeply about helping young people grow into strong, kind, and capable individuals. The impact Eric had on these children and families continues even now. On the soccer team that he coached, before every game, the players gathered and called out a cheer. For many teams, it might be something ordinary. But for Eric's team, even 4 years after his death, they still break the huddle with the words, 1, 2, 3, Eric. That simple cheer speaks volumes about a man he was and the lasting imprint that he left upon young lives in this community. He was a light to his sons, to the boys he coached, and to our entire community. A light that was taken far too soon. Eric was only 39 years old. As his father, I miss him every day. I miss our conversations. I miss watching him grow into a man I was so proud of. One of the greatest joys of my life was seeing the kind of father he had become. Eric was patient, loving, dedicated, and fully present in his boys' lives. Watching him raise his sons with such care and devotion was incredibly meaningful to me. Eric was also an amazing brother to 2 sisters, a loving uncle, nephew, cousin, and loyal friend. He was a trusted business partner, a valued colleague, and a respected member of our community. He was generous with his time, his energy, and kindness. He treated people with respect, showed gratitude even for the smallest acts of kindness, and gave freely of himself, because that's simply who he was. He worked hard to provide a beautiful life for his family. He gave them a home many would consider a dream. He ensured their needs were met, supported them, cared for them, and treated his wife with love every day. Yet despite everything he gave, his life was taken from him, not by a stranger, but by a person he should have been able to trust the very most in his life. He was betrayed in the most imaginable way possible. His life was taken through calculated, intentional actions motivated by the greed, control, and desire for a different life with someone else. Eric's boys lost a father. I lost my son. His sisters lost their brother. Our family lost a man who represented the very best of what a person can be. The ripple effects of this loss extend far beyond our immediate family. His friends lost someone they trusted and admired. The children he coached lost a mentor, a role model. Our community lost someone who genuinely cared and gave back without expecting anything in return. Eric will never see his boys graduate, get married, or become fathers themselves. He will never again stand on the sidelines cheering them on. He will never offer guidance, encouragement, or love in any way that only a father can. That opportunity was stolen from him and from all of us. Because of the calculated and intentional nature of this crime, I respectfully ask the court to impose a sentence of life without the possibility of parole. This sentence is important to Eric's 3 sons. Never have to live with the fear that the person responsible for taking their father could ever harm them again, and to ensure she can never harm anyone else ever again. Despite our immense grief, I want to acknowledge and thank those who have worked tirelessly to bring justice for my son. Eric was always grateful for others, showed kindness and dedication, and I know he would want to express sincere appreciation to those who gave their time, effort, and professionalism to seek the truth in this case. We are deeply thankful to the prosecution team, Margaret, Brad, Lindsay, Fred, Joe, Wendy, Patricia, and the entire staff who supported them for their commitment and their perseverance. We also want to recognize and thank Todd for his dedication and relentless efforts in helping us ensure justice has been served. We are also grateful to Grace Wardis for serving as a spokesperson and an advocate for our family throughout this process. We thank the Summit County Sheriff's Office, Lieutenant Hemingway, Detective O'Driscoll, Detective Hopper, Officer Woody, Officer Gibson, and all the law enforcement personnel who worked on this investigation. We thank the bailiffs who ensured the safety and the order of this courtroom. We thank you, Your Honor, for your patience, professionalism, and stewardship of this process. We extend our heartfelt gratitude to each juror, including the alternates, for their sacrifice and their time, for seriously taking the responsibility, who carried out to ensure justice was served. Nothing can bring Eric back. Nothing can restore what has been taken from his sons, from our family, and from this community. But accountability matters here. Justice matters. Eric mattered. His life, his love mattered, his example mattered. He will always be remembered as a devoted father, a loving son, a supportive brother, a loyal friend, and a man who made lives of those around him better. We miss him every day and will continue to honor his memory by living with the same kindness and dedication that he showed to everyone fortunate enough to know him. Thank you, Your Honor.